What if everything you've heard about Islam was incomplete? What if one of the biggest misconceptions about Islam is the idea that it forces people to convert? Today, let's explore what Islam actually teaches about freedom of belief, not through opinions, but through its original sources. Section 1. The Big Misconception. One of the most common claims you'll hear, especially in Western media, is that Islam spread by the sword, that it forced people into the religion. But here's something most people don't realize. If that were true, why does the Quran clearly state there is no compulsion in religion? This verse, from chapter 2, verse 256, is one of the most powerful declarations of religious freedom in human history. Think about that for a moment. Over 1,400 years ago, at a time when forced conversions were common across empires, Islam introduced a principle that faith must come from choice, not pressure. Section 2. What does no compulsion really mean? This statement is not symbolic, it's not metaphorical, it is a direct rule. Islam teaches that faith is something personal, something that comes from conviction, not coercion. Because forced belief is not real belief. And the Quran repeatedly reminds us, guidance cannot be forced into someone's heart. Section 3. Historical reality. Now let's step away from theory and look at history. When Muslim civilizations expanded into places like Egypt, Syria, and Spain, millions of people continued practicing their own religions, Christianity, Judaism, and others for centuries. If Islam truly forced conversion, those religions wouldn't exist there today. But they do, because Islamic law historically protected the right of non-Muslims to live, worship, and govern their own communities. Section 4. Protection of other faiths. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, didn't just preach tolerance, he practiced it. In one famous statement, he said, "Whoever harms a non-Muslim under Muslim protection, I will be his opponent on the day of judgment." Think about that. Not just equality, but accountability before God for mistreating someone of another faith. This is not the behavior of a religion that promotes oppression. This is the behavior of a system that enforces justice. Section 5. Why people get confused. So if Islam is so clear on this, why does the misconception exist? The answer is simple. People often confuse political conflicts, cultural practices, and actions of individuals with the actual teachings of Islam. But Islam, like any belief system, should be judged by its core sources, not by the mistakes of people. Section 6. Islam's approach to differences. Islam doesn't deny differences between people. In fact, the Quran says that diversity in belief is part of human existence. It teaches Muslims to speak respectfully, avoid insulting other beliefs, and invite others through wisdom, not force. Because truth doesn't need pressure, it stands on its own. Section 7. A universal principle. When you look closely, the Islamic principle of no compulsion is not just about religion, it's about human dignity. It's about recognizing that every individual has the right to think, to believe, to choose, and that true faith can only exist when it is freely chosen. Final message. So the next time you hear someone say that Islam forces people to convert, remember this. A religion that explicitly says there is no compulsion in religion cannot be built on force. Islam doesn't ask for blind acceptance. It invites understanding. It calls for reflection. And above all, it respects the freedom of the human heart. Because in Islam, faith is not forced. It is chosen.